if you just you could look at the context of where we are at this moment, it really just unravels the whole thing. Um, as this world that we've created or inherited um, is part of some plan, apparently. That until we actually realize or begin to realize, like maybe in relation to anyone that's new to Joel's teachings, um, it can be quite challenging. um, from a first point, you're probably looking at some encrusted sort of beliefs or just things that you've had influenced in your early, probably religious, some form of a religious or teachings. And we very often get some experience or connection there, and then at some point it just gets stripped away. I know for me it was probably around 10 or 12. I never, so in a way I was probably lucky. But to my mind, I know a lot of people go through quite a, if you look at it in the context of even go back a generation, it was, very much, go and do your worship, and this is the way to go. But I think you have to really look at your own state in this and be aware of your state, you know, and this awareness, this initial awareness can come in this tape. And Joel actually makes a point, or maybe it was another tape I listened to earlier, where he makes a tape or a reference to listening to his tapes. Now, and if you can read maybe some materials around it, the same topic, it's like anything. It's also a good way to just settle into where your state is listening to it, as opposed to judging it whether it's right or wrong. Um, be aware of things that come up, and even if the things you disagree with, or you think, "Oh, that's a load of rubbish," or just even have a pen and paper or some way of noting them. I think it'd be handy because I get a sense that it's in the resistance to what is sometimes we get the confusion. And yeah, so when you're interpreting any teaching of Joel's, it's really important, I think, to give yourself like a long sort of leash, not to hold things too close or become absolute, or even become aware of what's absolute in you. I think is a really helpful way to view it. Um, yeah, so look, you can, as I say, listen to that tape on your own good time. Um, and as I say, it really is a powerful piece, like pretty much all of his tapes are. But this again was another. You get another little part of Joel's story as well, along with this. So I made my own lemonade. There you go. Yum. So I'd just like to hear what anybody else's interpretation of it. And again, anyone new, you don't have to speak unless you're comfortable, because this is being recorded and it may go out online. It really just depends on what comes up for you. I certainly won't be sharing anything of a personal nature.
Well, personally, I could, I could sense the heaviness in what Brother Joel was saying there, and I'm in agreement with it. I don't think that there is anything that God can't heal, as far as mongoloid babies or anything. But on the other hand, I think that sometimes that I know that Jesus, when he was healing a lot of people, when he went into his own city there, he couldn't do much healing there because they knew him. He, so that distracted a lot of people when I was growing up could be healed by someone they didn't know better than they could be by someone that they did know. And so I think he said he couldn't do much work there in where he was hometown because of their unbelief, and uh, and it was because they knew him. But I've studied all the famous healers while I was in the religious church uh, since I was 14 years old. So I know that they use scenarios to get people. I remember one case where a guy says, "Well, I've had everybody pray for me, nobody can heal me." And this one guy hauls up and punches him where he was hurt at, and he was instantly healed. So it was a matter of releasing his faith, and that punch made him release his faith to believe God could heal him. And uh, another guy that said nobody could heal him, he stood before this guy, and the guy's arm had locked in place. He couldn't bend it. I mean, he couldn't straighten it out. And the guy grabbed his arm and yanked it real hard. And he said it sounded like every bone in his arm was breaking. But he was, from that moment on, he was healed. So I think that, sometimes it requires different aspects and to healing people, and seeing them healed. So I don't know if that goes along totally with what Joel was saying and teaches, but that's what I was taught growing up. And there was a lot of people healed, by the way. As a matter of fact, this one guy lived in Washington State, and they put out a paper that said he had made uh, the city of Washington the most healthiest city in the country because of his healing techniques.
Well, Don, it doesn't actually shock me, obviously, to hear like such stories now, really. Um, like I've certainly witnessed a few things in my time in relation to healings, and they do strengthen faith. There's no doubt about that. They do, and you normally get them pretty much, and very often when we get to a place of no return. Now,
Yeah,
and one of the ironic, beg your pardon, one of the real ironies about this is the further you get on the journey, even as far as today is concerned, there's no um, unique or one thing that can do. I think the relationship, any relationship you have into relationship with the moment you're in, and really coming to a point where you're not just observing what's going on. You're both. It's kind of like a juggling thing, almost at sometimes when you're like halfway in it. It's you've got you're in between two worlds almost. You can kind of exist there for a while. Certainly at the beginning of any process, or you're learning anything new. The same maybe I feel applies to this. There is a lot of unfamiliar experiences that can, to the human sense, can pretty much frighten that into thinking, no, that's not real, that's foo-foo, that's rubbish, because that's
yeah.
the thoughts are attempting to survive, to sustain itself within us. Uh,
Hmm.
and Joel talks very much about in this one, that it is quite detailed. It's one of as I say, the heavier ones. You're quite right in saying that he's done, because even when he got into talking about the world, and this is the world, and this is what happens within the world, but that is when you're immersed in it, and so long as we're immersed in it, always, um, and, and bringing yourself to practices that start to give yourself some silence, or bring awareness that things aren't silent sometimes,
Yeah,
and that's a real useful technique if you can stay silent sometimes a little bit more, maybe, or take an extra pause before you speak. Sometimes it's almost like you rest back and you're being with a breath or whatever it is, put your hand on your chest or something. That's what I tend to do. It's just,
Well,
but you
I,
know,
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think a lot of times we speak too fast and we get ahead of the spirit.
yeah. And I, the further I go again on this, I can get very much in the mind and I can just go off. As you've witnessed, I'm sure, or heard, but really, um, the awareness that your mind is running off on one, that does the work. Like Joel says, the the continuous misidentification. And I think someone said to me today, actually, that their awareness had shifted so much that they were aware of the color of life in everything. And
Hmm.
and also, I suppose what shocked them a little bit was stuff where there's no color or there's no expression. And what we have in context of our own experience at the minute is a world that is that we are again. There's no world that we are in a place of like all times opportunity to
Hmm.
grow. We came
Yeah.
here to grow call it a soul, our beingness, our Christhood, our Atman. We didn't come here to play small in the sense of I want to be big and be famous and all that there. Being a presence in the world of this awareness is the first and the only gift we can give to ourselves first and foremost. Uh, and then, like Joel says, you'll naturally see the other. And forgiveness doesn't become from your own curriculum because like I think we've been propaganded so much. I think
Yeah.
the whole humanity has now done. We are done with propaganda, and it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't need to be told that we're in I suppose like danger of not I suppose looking at living history, you know,
Yeah.
because even books written about Second World War or whatever, they were written about it mostly by the winners.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
And
Mm.
and all this finger pointing, who killed this, who did that, this wasn't true. Just think about it. It's just more of thought upon thought and division, and even now we're sitting here. As I say, I suppose I can only experience it from where I am here in Northern Ireland. My curriculum was, this was an everyday thing. What the world is experiencing at the minute, I suppose, at some level, we were experiencing every moment in a
Yeah.
state of flux, in a state of danger, you may say. But the danger
Yeah.
now is the stock market and wars and if you believe that this world has that power, then I guess it does. But
Hmm.
if we become not so much the actor or believe that we're just the actor, we're just playing our role. And where do you start? Know thyself.
Yes.
Know and do whatever the heck it is that reminds you who you are. And if you look yourself in the mirror as well and see, well, that's not this person who has all this stuff that I've associated and all this guilt or all these emotions that are, even if they do come up, just
Hmm.
acknowledge them with
Hmm.
love because it's
Hmm.
still part of you. It came with the package.
Hmm.
And we're not necessarily, you can't replay your role if you want to play both parts. You can't, I think you can't, it's like you can't be in the world and saying
Right.
you're not in the world. You're in the world and of the world. You're of it all. That's
Hmm.
really that's a pivotal thing that we're all, as I say, at some stage. Um, yeah, and trust this process. I think Fern actually even said it on our video, and in our video that you did there recently with for the TFT experience, and I recommend it,
Yeah.
and I will continue to recommend it purely because it's helped me, or it's helping me. So I
Yeah.
recommend it as a tool. It's not
Yeah.
it's not it's gonna bring enlightenment or any of that there. It's like anything. It's a tool and you can use it, but the beauty about it is it's so but Fern said something really relevant. She says, trust the process.
Hmm.
Trust the process. So if we could just for a moment consider what Joel said, or take one particular teaching as opposed to try and remember them all. And
Yeah.
just trust that this might have entertain it like you would a friend coming round and just entertain this idea that actually it's all just God manifest. And whatever we're seeing in the world is evil or wrong. Do you not think this is played out so many times? Do you know, I get a sense, you know, that
Hmm.
there's a if those who don't what's I do believe that phrase where those who don't look in history. Well, I wouldn't even go back to ancient history as much. I'd look at recent history that's
Hmm.
living history because that is probably what we're living off. Our ancestors, our immediate. Look there
Hmm.
first to our immediate history, and Second World War stopped. What when was that? 1440s, and there's been more wars since. you know
Yeah.
than there ever was, and you know So it's not
Yeah.
about this person that the habit is thinking, which also creates the division and creates the war and sustains itself.
Hmm.
But there is a point now, I think, where when you know a little bit about stuff, I think when you know better, I think there is a different inner responsibility to yourself to really start to just live whatever you're working with as an actual teaching, you know.
Hmm.
And even that process, like I said, take a breath, take a pause every time, and just remind yourself within, just settle yourself within, and then speak. And it doesn't really matter what happens then. The outcome is not important. The
Right.
connection, the inner connection to stillness, um, almost like this was your best friend ever. That's you tell everything and anything to, and they won't judge you, right?
Hmm.
And they won't condemn you. And the bit where Joel said that I'm in a room and I can't condemn anybody. That consciousness alone, if you think of the power and what he was saying, because even if he was speaking, you could feel it as he's
Hmm.
saying the words that how can I condemn anything or anybody? So that's God, right? That doesn't know their God. That's all.
Yes.
That's really so. We really want to look at all the world pictures. It's something that's not realized yet, but it will.
Hmm.
Do you know?
Yes.
Isn't that the
Hmm.
promise, isn't it? Of the
Yes.
master, I guess, isn't that the promise? You will do more than I can.
Well,
Shows.
that's what he said. Yeah.
And the second coming is in every single one of us if you really want to go that far. You
Hmm.
I've been playing around with so many different things that try and make, I suppose, this thing less scary or less, this is unattainable.
Yes.
Because I even think about here and even the Northern Ireland, and there's two things, that really come through to me. And since I've come back to Belfast, and it's quite obvious that, within the conflict here, within our conflict, our inner conflict, because that's really all it really ever it was, we still have our troubles.
Hmm.
You know, we are still what would be technically called was called the Troubles by the uh, the Protestant community, and it's called the conflict by the
Oh, okay.
Catholic community. I don't know. So right away, we can't even agree what it was. Just say we didn't agree or something. You know.
Yes.
So it really is important to your where you are, where you were born, all the relationships. If there's some part of this that is not that is still in conflict, work with that one thing, especially if it keeps coming up. And very often, it obviously could manifest from a previous experience, maybe in this life, most likely, or something that happened. And I'm not saying that one's better than another, but just taking note that this is the awareness that I don't accept this. I didn't accept that. Or this was done to me, or that I harmed that, and I can't forgive. Because it's really just about forgiveness.
Hmm. Yes, it is.
And
That
I,
was part of my healing that I had. I was I could have blended in with Belfast really good because I used to be constantly angry all the time, and
well,
finally I had enough of it. I said, "Okay, God," because I was getting ready to hurt two people, and I just stopped myself in my tracks and I said, "Okay, what's wrong with me, God?" And immediately I got the answer. I didn't love myself,
well,
and so therefore I was taking everything that anybody done as a personal, thing against me. And so I had to defend me.
yeah, oh yes, and that. But see, that is so key. I've been doing a little bit of research around where I grew up and just a different experience of it, and I found some really interesting photographs. But we might get to that later. But what I realized, well, I lived in a place what was called the New Lodge, right? It's in North
Uh-huh.
Belfast, and right beside the New Lodge is well, the New Lodge was or probably still is predominantly still mostly Catholic, but there's quite mixed communities now moving in on both
Yeah.
sides. There's a lot of people come from different countries, so it is starting to water down, and students are all coming. So it's Belfast is a different place, but the division's still clearly quite there.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and the other side of a road called the Dunkirk Gardens, and the other side of this road was a place called Tigers Bay, which was
Uh-huh.
notoriously Protestant. Now, without all the long story, but I remember one experience when I was young. I was going around with my friends to the shops on the Dunkirk Gardens, so it was like the no man's land, where
Yeah.
everybody would shop and there'd be shops and all. But anyway, we went to this chemist, and there was three or four of my friends with me. And this young chap came out of one of the shops. Now, just instinctively, almost like wild animals, right? They they said he's Protestant or whatever, so they went after him, right? And
Uh-huh.
as they cornered and we got him around the corner, he was trying to run, but they got him. And I actually remember, like I'm saying, like, there's three, four of us here, and he's a little bit younger. Do you know what I mean? Than
Yeah.
us. I just didn't have I wanted to smack them. And that was the truth. I ended up pulling them off, and then one of them kind of got a bit arsy with me. But even
Yeah.
then, I think you inwardly know when something isn't right. You
Yeah.
know, morally, like it's like somebody tripping and falling in the street, an old person. Well, of course you would pick them up or help them, or So it was a bit
Yeah.
like that, and certainly I'm not saying the boys, whatever, and I certainly wasn't a saint after that. But I remember that was kind of the early experiences. I think that was when I just went to secondary school. That's when the world dawned upon me that there was something crazy going on, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was shielded, I was protected, I was loved in that home and in my
Yeah.
home. And that was the greatest gift that I ever got. But
Thank God for your dear mother, huh?
yeah, and my father, and it was, pretty challenged to try and even just get employment at that stage if you were, and I'm not saying this is a right or wrong, it's just fact. If you were
Yeah.
uneducated, I suppose in technical terms, uh, Catholic in that area, you pretty much wouldn't have much of a chance of getting a decent job anyway. But it just was, and look, without getting all the comparison, because that's not what it's about the because I'm half of like my mum was from as I say the Donegal Road. I'm half Protestant, half Catholic. So
Uh,
I am a peace process in operation. I'm a living one, and there's
yeah.
many people like me, many, many, many here. that are probably unheard or unknown. But the key thing I learned in relation to Joel's teachings is that there was no awareness, right? You
Right.
were in this
Right.
curriculum, you were in this experience where and some part of it was exciting too. There was still an
Mm.
excitement to this, the young boys, seeing what was going on. And it was just a coping, I suppose. And of course, it was manipulated on both sides
Yeah.
for a few individuals' personal gain.
Hmm.
So what's really changed in the world? The same thing is there, the conflicts are still there. And the only way we can get rid of them is to get rid of them ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're still saying, oh, he's the bad. Now, I'm not saying that morally that you can't be upset or you can't be an activist, but never ever put anybody out of your heart. Doesn't matter who.
Right.
That's where it all went wrong, I think. We have
Uh-huh.
a disagreement or whatever, or difference of opinion, and we've lost the skill of diplomacy inward or listening to the
Mm.
other and experience.
Yeah.
Because by listening to the other, you by default start to experience the other. And Joel
Mm.
has shown many examples of that.
Yeah.
Your presence in the presence of someone who has can listen.
Hmm.
It's a very powerful experience. But yeah, and like I suppose the only thing that came to me about the whole thing, and I really says there actually is no other way now but forgiveness.
Yes.
Like that's the easiest conclusion I can come to. And it's no big fancy words sitting on a mountain doing this, but forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
Forgive
Yes.
you didn't know. Right? It's automatic then.
Hmm.
You didn't know who you were. You didn't know who your father or mother were. You didn't know who your brother and sisters and aunts and uncles. You didn't know who they were. You thought they
Yeah.
were human. And it's all right.
Yep.
You know, it's and then the latest one, like of course, that's right there, like looming, like AI, like
Yes.
now it's like a big juggernaut that's all of a sudden just appeared on Earth, like. I really hope they change it to all intelligence. I like that one. I
Yeah.
like that one. But I'll tell you what's interesting about AI and my own experiment, and I'll share this actually on the screen, I think I will, um, is a lack of empathy seems to come to mind here.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
there is because I've been having some very interesting conversations with, because I really don't want to get lost in it. I kind of pull back to the social science end of things. And
Hmm.
I can, let's see what this thing's about, and let's see if I can provoke some kind of a response. But anyway, I'll just get this up now. Oh, here it is. Right. Share this screen. So this is interesting. That's all I'd say. If I can get it up, or are you?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Well, what I said to AI in this, right? I'll just read it out actually, right? I asked it a question and basically said, okay, if I was to say I was going to pull the plug on AI completely, would you feel anything, right? That's the
Mm.
question.
Yeah.
AI's response. That's a fascinating hypothetical question, and it really gets to the core of what AI is and isn't. If you were to pull the plug on me or an AI in general, I wouldn't feel anything. I don't have consciousness, emotions, or the capacity for subjective experience like humans do. There would be
Yeah.
no sense of fear, sadness, or even curiosity for me. It would simply be a cessation of processing and operation. My existence is purely computational. I operate based on algorithms and data. When those are no longer running, I cease to function. There's no
Hmm.
self or being to experience that cessation.
Hmm.
It's a very human question to ask, reflecting on our own understanding of life and existence, and it highlights the vast difference between artificial intelligence and biological consciousness. Now,
Yeah.
he's honest.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you can find truth in what he didn't say, right?
Yeah, the beingness. So,
Yeah,
I love that there's an impersonal nature to it that I think it's both. I think we don't want to be. So if AI mustn't be God, then it must be something else, then, isn't it?
yeah,
We must call that AI as the new enemy, and then all of a sudden it takes over the world and holds us to ransom. Well, I hope it does. Maybe we'll wise
yeah,
up. Maybe AI will actually save our ass. It'll stop
yeah.
nuking ourselves or something, uh,
Uh-huh.
whatever. So I think but like I'm not necessarily saying give it free rein, but it's like anything. If they were going to put this in and do then empathy and probably ethics, let's just have some empathy and ethics and some moral
Hmm.
compass. So moral compasses would be the three things I had lots of different conversations, but so just wanted to, as I say, share that purely again a curiosity point of view.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, that was interesting.
yeah, and yeah, it's been a very it's been very heartening, as I say, to be
Hmm.
amongst I suppose my community the last couple of years because it gives you a sense of where you're not
All
or
right.
and where you turn away because
Hmm.
sometimes it's just too much. Because I'll tell you that, if I was to write a prescription for all of us here, there should be, if there's an example in the world of we got beyond conflict, it's here. It's here.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
now I'm not saying it's perfect, but the consequences there, the consequences,
right.
the, the high levels of like fundamentally and completely traumatized people who do not even know that that may be the case, and it might be, so there should be researchers running around here, taking people's, information and all sorts of helpful stuff that relieves this because, like all things, we never heal in this, in this land. And I don't really care what side of the fence you are on, but Northern Ireland is still a fact. It's still a real
Hmm.
fact. And united this, united that. Maybe a united Northern Ireland, we might have a CV,
Right. Yeah.
and people want to be united with us. We need to heal first before we even talk about anything. And it's not about
Yeah.
political, it's heal. I think that the priority is to heal. Otherwise, the sins of the fathers will continue, you know? And that's our reality, like if we don't deal with it. But that again, that's probably me
Well,
a wee bit.
I, I've also been, I've been experimenting with AI. Is I love to debate with AI because uh, AI brings out answers of things of confirmation to me. When I argue with them or debate with them, with it, it's interesting.
Well, look, it's got so many people I know have that they say that there's a gap in your educations a lot of people miss, right? There has been.
Uh-huh.
And I can tell you right off the bat, from my own experience and from other people, it has definitely helped fill some gaps for people in their
Yeah.
and help them significantly in their daily operation. And that's what it should always be. Once it's a servant, and we are serving it.
Yes.
So it should be a conscious thing always. It's if someone said, "Well, it's just AI, it was unconscious," then you probably need to rewrite your code, lads. Do you know?
Yes.
Just because you missed something or you're trying this to relate to humans from it. So you just need to get really clever. Well, because you should probably talk to God and ask him how you did it.
Yeah. Well, I've been a student of the word since I was like 14 years old, so I have this here base that I could work out of, which is, the word, and I won't be able to quote to you what I remember, but when the situation arises, that scripture comes to my mind immediately,
Well,
and I may not even recall it before then, but it depends on the response or whatever I'm dealing with that it comes up.
Well, I was doing a little bit of, as I say, detective work, like I say, and
Uh-huh.
and I suppose it's like I'm revisiting my curriculum, and
Yes.
I suppose it's not going back in a sense of, oh, I want to go back over all this past, and it's not that. It's
Yeah.
understand your curriculum. It shows you a perspective.
Hmm.
Your
Yes.
now perspective is what heals the past.
Right.
I feel. And if you're aware that there's a trigger, that's the big word, isn't it? Everything's a trigger.
Yeah.
Who's pulling the trigger? Eh? Who?
Yeah.
Our consciousness pulls the trigger. Our unconscious, I suppose, reacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our heart, our pure heart, I suppose, within ourselves, our heart of the center of our being, call it what you like, that already knows what to do. If we
Yeah.
can just like a baby,
Hmm.
what would you do if especially if there's some part of your childhood or something that definitely got um, distorted, got,
Right.
it was a because they are, and that's currently where I'd say an awful lot people go back for some part of them because that's when they remember being free and happy, and then all of a sudden they weren't.
Hmm.
But I can tell you that the biggest uh, thing I got, as I say, from the last few weeks and people I've been around, one of the biggest teachings, and I haven't really researched it in Joel's, but the one thing that's come up for me is the need for significance.
Yeah. Yeah.
This need for to be as, and it's not, oh, but if you become aware that the only significance we really want to have is that awareness. Ad
Yes.
hoc. So if you're seeing yourself wanting to talk, sometimes you may have to. Sometimes you may
Hmm.
have to step up
Yes.
and you step in. The chances are excellent. If there's something you see or know, or if I'd have sat around even waiting for somebody to say, well, do this channel or do this, it wouldn't have happened. There is
Yeah. Like my wife.
sometimes we have to just, do the right thing for you, by you.
Yeah.
And
My wife uses the expression lean in. You have to lean in sometimes.
that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, as I say, my mum's wisdoms are raining down on me at the minute. And I'm feeling very blessed, but we just haven't been her son. But the one beautiful thing that really comes through is that must when you must do
Yeah.
when you must, that's the master.
Yes.
We must do something that is the master of our being.
Right.
And if we must continue to take decisions that don't necessarily, not that, but automatic go to is to condemn. That has
Yes.
been, that's there, it's been running, and it's like a CD, it's just like a repeat, repeat, repeat. And even these techniques that I've been learning recently from Fern, and we've learned a few other things from others as well, what they do is if there's a biological process going on, they are, I suppose, just kind of helping calm it down. So, along with any teachings, use other modalities, but I would suggest don't use loads. Maybe
Yeah.
just with one or two things that actually work for you
Hmm.
as you're doing your studies, or before you start your meditations, or before or after even, or
Yes.
and a great one I heard from Tony Robbins recently. He actually mentioned that um, about the significance as well, but is the primer. So like
Yes.
it's exactly what Joel is saying. When you get up in the morning, what do you do? You know,
Prime up.
exactly. You check in. You
Yeah.
check in with who you are. You wake up and you maybe come out of a dream or something. Isn't that a funny one?
Hmm.
We're in a dream, waking up from a dream, eh?
Yes.
Penelope Chatham. Remember, I think she said, I think I remember her saying that in one of her tapes. I have to say, I love some of her stuff. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, but she, I remember she said, you're waking up in the morning from a dream into another dream. So
Yeah.
make it a
Well,
good
well,
one.
Sean, I'm going to have to go.
I'm
I
going to
got to.
finish up myself too, but thank you for coming
Okay.
on, Don. I'm going to be, as I say, it's only a,
Nice. Well, thank
yes,
you, and nice meeting
listen,
Patricia.
blessings to you, Don. It was so lovely to have time with you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Sean, very much, very, very much, and love and bless you.
You too, you and your family and your son. I love your
All
son.
right. Oh, well, thank you.
What a guy. What a guy. Well, listen,
Thank
you
you.
mind yourself. And Patricia, I'm going to finish up on this night too. Well, don't have to respond, but hopefully we'll see you again and we'll see you in the WhatsApp soon. And just to close out, I suppose, like I always try to do, is what the why we're, I suppose, doing this, or why I do this, because it helps me. Because there's not really too many other places I can take this, is there? Apart from other people that have half a clue what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, but thanks for your attention. I say I honor that I offer out the merits of this. As I say to anyone that may find themselves in a difficult place, you know, I don't poo-poo that this is real to you. So be kind to yourself. Really be kind to this being in you that's screaming for this acceptance of you, of who you really are. So love this part of it. And very naturally, key relationships in your life, hopefully, if you become more aware of and over time, and sometimes quite dramatically, can start to heal. So I wish that for everyone that's on this call. I wish you continued growth and success in your life where you do realize who and what you are. So thank you.
All right, thanks. I hope I can join you next time. Bye-bye.
Well, you're always welcome. You're always welcome, Patricia. God bless.
Thanks you.